Hello, welcome to Fireside Chats. My name is Magela Pillai, and today I'd like to introduce you to Sister Denise, who has been practicing Rajyoga Meditation for over 4 decades. The topic for today's discussion is Peace Beyond Human Understanding. In this series, we look at spirituality, how it impacts on your consciousness, and we ask you, the viewer, to ask yourself honestly what your relationship with God is, whether it's a real and meaningful relationship, or is God just a name or concept in your life. Sister Denise, very warm welcome to today's show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Peace beyond human understanding. These words are not new, are they?
No. They're part of the Western tradition. They must be in the spiritual literature, the biblical literature, and people refer to it, I think, in connection with the aspiration of spiritual connectedness.
What comes to my mind is that one way of approaching peace is via the intellect, where one understands, but the experience that's suggested in the title comes from another source entirely.
Well, peace, if you want to understand it, refers to the absence of war, but when it comes to a state of being that is not just probably beyond human understanding, but beyond the everyday experience. I mean, people on tombstones write "Rest in Peace," which is a macabre relationship with peace. But at the same time, sometimes death is attractive because of the promise of peace. So there's an ambivalence about that. But I think that, people, when they really feel anxiety, agitation, or, the horrors of war, there's just such a yearning for peace, but how to get it and what it is and where it is sort of escapes one's grasp.
Sister Denise, when one wants to reach this stage that is advertised in this heading, how do you go about it? Is it something that you achieve after years of effort? Is it something that can be experienced instantaneously?
I think in a way both of them, because when a person with deep sincerity turns to God, that is the one response that they get, is this overwhelming peace, which is so different and so far away from any normal human experience that it takes your breath away. And then you want it again. God will give such a gift, but also will say, look, you can get this if you apply your mind to it, and if you do the spiritual work, you can have this. And so, in a sense, that gift of peace is the incentive to a person to strive in such a way that they reach a stage of purity and at oneness, that they can go into that peace at will.
And Sister Denise, I'm thinking about for want of a better word, the real world in which we live. You have to come into action. You have to engage with other people. You have to fulfill your responsibilities. And there are many whose experience is that the pace of their lives are extremely intense. Okay? So on the one hand, it feels wonderful to be in the state that you just described. Okay? But how are you able to be that way and feel that way, but yet fulfill all of your responsibilities on earth? That's extremely intense pace. Is the one not at odds with the other?
Well, I think you're right, it is. And I think this is why this peace is said to be beyond human understanding, because it's also beyond the human world. But what we can also say is that in meditation, with enough practice and attention to your karma, you can access that through detachment from the physical body. Because as long as you're connected with the body, you can't have peace, because you're in movement. So, I mean, the implication of peace is absolute stillness, absolute silence. And what you get, or the place where that is available, is not in this world. It's really the world where God resides. So when you go to God in meditation, you also go to that world of peace, which is given the name Shantidam, Paramdam, Parlok, the world beyond this world. This is the world of sound and movement, but there is also a world of absolutely no sound, no movement, also called nirvana. So I think it's about the yearning of a person, maybe of mystical inclination, to be able to go there when you want. And that's really one of the purposes of meditation, because when you go to that dimension of absolute stillness, absolute peace, then at that time you are no longer losing energy. And so it's very restorative. And then in that dimension you are connecting to God and filling yourself. And the peace that you get from God is extremely power-packed. So it's like a commodity that gives you some special capacity to operate better in the material world. So the ability to go between the real world and the higher dimension is something that becomes possible when a person really develops their spiritual capacity.
Is peace a primary virtue? Is it a secondary virtue? Do you achieve peace as a result of other practices, or do you achieve it straight on?
You know, if you look at the different ways in which the expression is used, especially in the Hindi language where all this is spoken about a great deal, you find the expression that peace is the original religion of the soul. It's quite an interesting concept that, a soul would have a religion, and there you have actually an issue of translation. What is called as the swadharma, the dharma of the self, is peace. So your ground of being is to be peaceful, still, silent. And then from that dimension, that space, you then come into action through the body. You do what you have to do, and then you return back to that original state, that dharma of the self, of peace. So I think this is the practice that spiritual people wish to acquire, is that ability at will to go into the world of action and matter and then withdraw from it. Because when you are withdrawn from it, you're absolutely the detached observer. You're kind of positioning yourself on the same level as God, and then looking at the world from that angle, which is very different from the angle that people normally look at the world from. So what you see and how you interpret the world is going to be quite different.
So Denise, you said that one accumulates this virtue from God. Tell me, how do you maintain it as you are going by through the course of your life? How do you keep it with you, even though you may be quite busy?
Well, you need to give time to it, you see. Somebody who considers themselves to be engaged in a spiritual practice, who says, well, I'm a meditator, you need to spend several hours a day doing that. And that is when you are accessing that peace and restoring that quality of peace to your spirit, to your soul, and then that energy comes into action through the body.
If somebody has this quality of peace in their lives, the peace that one doesn't get from another human being, but from God, is your behavior different? Your actions? Is your the way you relate to others different? Is your speech different, or is it the same?
No, I think that it will be different, because the quality of peace will inform how you feel, the atmosphere that you exude, the way you talk, what you think is important, all this kind of thing will be very much influenced by that. You will not just say, I'm a peaceful soul. People will say, you're a peaceful soul.
Sister Denise, why is it that so many on the planet, I won't say all, but so many on the planet desire not just peace, but the quality of peace that you just described, but so few are able to attain it? What is the criteria for experiencing this, what you just described?
Well, you have to be detached from the body. You have to know how to detach from your body, because it's only when you're detached from your body that you're in that. And when you're connected with your body, then you're not in that. So that's why you have to detach.
Okay, and by detachment you mean?
When you're meditating, you become aware that, okay, all of your energy is spread throughout your body, and it's used for interacting with the world. You're perceiving the world through your sense organs, and you're down here, as it were, totally. When you meditate, you practice to withdraw your energy from the body and actually orient your whole sense of self away from the material world into the world of light, the world of peace, in order to connect with God so that you can resource yourself. And of course, the world of light, the world of peace, is also described as the home of the soul. So our sojourn on this earth is a visit. Like you go to Disneyland. Or
sojourn, that's an interesting way of describing life on earth, as a sojourn.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's what it is.
Okay.
We visit, we do various things, and we go home. So sometimes this earth is called a playground, or as Shakespeare had put it, all the world's a stage and we're all the actors on it. And then what's the play? Well, it's comedy, tragedy, history, mystery, tyranny, love stories. I mean, everything is going on here. And when you're in the world of light, the world of peace, you're at rest. You're not in the world of action. You're just at peace.
You mentioned this earlier, but I'd like to take this further. Tell us what exactly and how you draw from God in order to make this your reality. You said that one experiences peace in your awareness, detaching yourself from your body. Thereafter, what else do you do to, or not do, shall I say, think, to bring it?
You have to connect. There's the being of God, and there's you. And this is why sometimes they use the thumb and index finger to refer to this connection as yoga. The soul and God come together. It's rather like the picture of, God creating Adam that is so famous. The intellect is referred to by the index finger. So the intellect of God and your intellect come together like this, and then energy passes between. So you're drawing the energy of peace from God. God is the ocean, the source, the the one who contains the totality of that energy of peace, which is for the purpose of humanity. But it's not going to come to you just like rain coming from the sky. You have to go get it. Then there is also, I was talking earlier about the merit of being able to recognize God, who is very, very disguised. There's also merit in going to God, taking from God, and filling yourself. Who takes the most is the most meritorious, because they understood they have the rights and they claimed the rights fully.
Yes, Denise, if one has become a reservoir of peace, which peace you get from God, do you owe anything to the world? Is it okay to be selfish and keep it for yourself? Or is there a duty on you to share?
Well, actually, there is a duty to share, because you receive it, that's very good for you, but it's not only for you. Once you have it, you become the one who is responsible to distribute it. Because God is very aware that some people can come and take by their own capacity, but majority not. So those who come and take by their own capacity, they are given the charge of distribution. And so then you have to distribute it to everyone on earth. Some people are not interested in receiving. You have to find a way to slip that piece in.
How do you do that? Distribute to everyone on earth. That sounds a bit, with respect, airy-fairy, out there.
What you can do with your mind is like a receptacle that you can receive, but it also can transmit. So you can angle it towards somewhere or someone and just send it.
In terms of the negative aspects of your personality that are anti-peace, as it were, every single one of us has those qualities that that shatter our own peace of mind, which is why one starts to meditate in the first place. Okay, so if an individual is suffering from depression, if an individual is bipolar, if an individual has the habit of anger and or rage, and I named these three things, but there's the gambit of human emotion that are negative. That is who we have become. On the one hand, you're receiving peace from God, okay, and on the other hand, you've got these qualities that have been there since birth, and you can't hold two simultaneously. One has to give.
The negative is sometimes referred to as darkness. If you have a cylinder, when the light is filling that cylinder, the whole thing is light. Now, if you look at light rather like a liquid, and it gets used up so it goes down, the space where that light is not becomes dark. So as your light diminishes, that empty space is automatically filled with darkness. So if you start to fill with light from God, then that is going to increase the volume of space that is taken up, and your darkness is going to be reducing. So it's not that darkness and light don't live together, because light will anyway make darkness go away. But if you look at it in that different angle, that the power of light, if you just compare it to a liquid, and where that liquid is not, it is dark, and where that liquid is, then the dark is not. You see, so changing the ratio between how much light and how much dark.
Now, Sister Denise, once you have this sense of peace with you, does it bring other virtues with it, or does peace walk into your heart alone, or does it bring some friends?
Well, it has friends.
What are the friends of peace?
You know, in the elements of matter, air, earth, fire, water, ether, they all work together in combinations to make the material world. The spiritual world is made up of these qualities: purity, peace, power, love, bliss. So peace is one of them.
Sorry, say that again, slowly.
Purity, peace, power, love, bliss.
Okay.
So they operate together. A lot of people, they say, okay, I'm going to meditate on peace. I'm going to meditate on love. I'm going to meditate on this and that. It's good. You need to, really focus on things individually, but they operate all together. So, but you still need to spend time, okay, let me really understand peace. And then when it comes to, the reality of the way the world is, peace never comes just by itself.
Sister Denise, what happens when you had a really good meditation and you acquired all of the peace that you just described, but you don't look after it inside yourself? You allow yourself to get hurt, to get angry, to get upset, and the peace disappears. And if this happens habitually, what happens to your sense of peace?
Well, you lose your ability to acquire it, because it's rather like money. You get given a nice bunch of money, okay, now do something with your life. And you keep losing it, somebody will say, okay, I'll give you some more. After a while, they're going to say, you know what? You don't know how to take care of it. I'm not going to give you any.
Ouch. Okay. Tell me, where does one's heart fit into this? Because the title implies the head, peace beyond understanding.
Yes.
So the heart?
Well, I think that if you understand something as subtle and deep as peace, you'd almost want to say that you're understanding it with the heart. Because the heart, the mind, is where you feel qualities. And you can't really understand those things. Feel them.
Sister Denise, I'm not sure if this is just an English thing or if this is an international thing. In the English language, we don't speak of peace of heart. We don't speak of peace of intellect. We speak of peace of mind. Okay? Yeah. Why is that? And what is it about the mind that needs peace? We speak of love in the heart. Okay? What is it about the mind that needs peace? And only the mind that needs peace. And is it just an English thing? Or is it an international thing?
I think it's particularly English. And the mind is really an organ of perception. And if you want peace, you want to perceive it. So peace of mind because of that perception. I was trying to think of how peace is used in other languages. In German, you would talk about the Geist. In French, you would talk about l'esprit. So it's a little bit more the spirit. You want peace in the spirit. But in English, you never say peace of spirit.
No.
But
that sounds spooky.
Yeah, it does. So peace of mind, I think it's really because people experience restlessness in the mind and they really desire peace of mind. And then when you get peace, you feel that you have it in your mind, almost like a commodity where your mind becomes finally at peace and the thoughts are at rest.
There are many on planet Earth who desperately seek peace and who've given up finding it because of internal and external conflict and because of life circumstances. Okay, well, what is your message for them?
I think it's to do with faith. I think it's to do with, a commitment, not to give up. It's to do with hanging in there. But I think faith plays a very big role. You just have to know it is there. I will have it. It's almost like a conviction.
Okay, on that note, thank you for sharing. And I must say, sitting here, I could feel peace from you, not just hear you say the words. So you obviously somebody who walks your talk, and thank you for sharing that energy. So there you have it, peace beyond human understanding. We spent the last half an hour listening to how this is and can be a reality for you, provided that you know how to access it using your own mind and using your own heart. It's achievable, according to Sister Denise. All you have to do is give yourself the time and invest the energy into making it possible. And thereafter, to know how to look after that sense of peace that you acquired from God. So I do hope that you have a peaceful life ahead. Thank you so much for joining us, and goodbye.